This interview is for information only and should not be considered as investment advice or a recommendation to buy shares in the company featured. Welcome to this Stock Box interview. Joining us today is Robbie McRae from Caracal Gold. So Robbie, thank you very much for your time. It's been a little while since we spoke. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm well, thanks. And you, Mark? It's been a very busy and very stressful time since January, but we're going well and things are moving in the right direction. So good to talk to you and good to be able to provide an update.
Yes, it's nice to get an update, of course. Yes, we did speak in January. Of course, it was we talked at length at that point about the deal with OSIM and, of course, the fact it didn't go ahead because of that final condition for them to have the security over the mining license was something that couldn't be worked out with the Kenyan government despite all best efforts. So the time has passed and we've had an update from last year. We've had a Q3, Q4 update. And, of course, there's been an update on financing as well. You've announced a CLN deal with Orca Capital, whereby you've raised US $1 million with an option to take up to another $4 million. So can you just sort of explain to us the financial situation? I think, first of all, with regards to what you've done here with Orca Capital, is this to kind of see you through until such time as you're still trying to secure, I guess, a larger financing deal with a similar partner that you were going after with OSIM?
Yeah, absolutely, Mark. So we geared up late last year and, late in November and through December, and the company was geared up to draw down the funding from OSIM and proceed 100%, foot on the pedal in the car on the expansion project. And we had set everything up based on that happening, and based on the information that OSIM had provided and the dummy drawdowns that we were running. I mean, there was no indication to us that the funding was not going to go through. So after the funding was pulled early in January, we had to consolidate a bit and rejig our plan. We had to make a decision on, do we still continue and pursue the expansion funding as aggressively as what we had did. We had to keep the operation running and keep producing gold. We've got a commitment to the Kenyan government. We've got a substantial commitment to our staff and all the families that they support in the area. So we had to tackle it from a couple of angles. We needed the mine to continue running. We needed the mine to continue to make money and support the process and support everything that we're doing. And then we had to rejig and get a new strategy in place and start talking to people on replacements to come in and replace OSIM as our funding partners. And bolted onto that was the completion, and we had to have a team and put a team together for the completion of the prospectus, which we've been talking about since late last year as well. So those have been the three areas of focus: was keeping the mine running, making sure that we're producing gold profitably, rejigging and having a look at the options on the financing and who could we talk to, who could we bring in, how long was the process going to take, and built into that, a lot of questions were asked by the new prospective financiers as to why the OSIM deal didn't go ahead, etc. And those conversations were, we were almost starting a little bit behind the line, not even on the line, because people were wary. And was there a problem with the project? So it took us some time to explain to them that why did the condition precedent from OSIM on getting security over the mining license, why was it only tabled on the 16th of December? So there were a lot of questions to answer, which we had to deal with, and obviously the people that we're dealing with going forward are fully up to speed with that, and they know what can be provided and can't be provided with regards to security. So we won't fall into any of those issues going forward again. And OSIM, not OSIM, Orca have always been a very supportive shareholder and funder to Caracal, and we're very grateful that they stepped up and provided us with $1 million which has enabled us to do and pretty much run everything that we've needed to do and get to where we are. I'm on site at the moment. That's the reason why I can't be discussing things. Well, I'm not on video at the moment because the internet signal is not that great here, and things are going very well in the mine. So and things are going very well on the replacement financing, and things are going very well with regards to the finalising of the prospectus. So Orca have really stepped up and assisted us with that.
Okay, so it's good to hear you secured immediate financing from the supportive shareholder Orca there, which can keep you going with working capital. As you say, you continue to progress with the larger financing situation, which hopefully you'll be able to communicate to us at some point when, of course, all process is complete, depending on what stage all that is. But let's talk a little bit about the other operations. Of course, the company did release its Q3, Q4 2022 update. So in Kenya, you mentioned you were been focusing on optimizing the mine plan and renewing focus on process efficiencies at Kilimapesa. And during the last 2 quarters of last year, you processed 23,790 tons and 19,613 respectively to realize 806 and 835 ounces in gold sales. So looking at that then, of course, I know we've spoken before about the target of 1,000 ounces per month. This is, of course, retrospective as well. And given some of the problems that you had there with the deal with OSIM falling through here, is that perhaps one of the factors why you didn't quite make it to 1,000? You mentioned earlier about the focus being more on mine expansion as opposed to the operations of Kilimapesa.
Yeah, I mean, our ambition for Kilimapesa has, I think we've always tried to communicate our ambition for Kilimapesa and what we believe it could do and what we believe it could become to the market. And we set off at the beginning of last year, and we believed that the mine could achieve 1,000 ounces per month. And that was based on just material being processed through our mill and the milling capacity and the tank CIL capacity, everything that we had. And I think it was in January last year, we came very close to the 1,000 ounces. And the tonnage going through the mill, that target and the results from our exploration drilling, where we defined a larger resource. We went from about 650 odd thousand ounces to over 705,000 ounces, but the average grade moved from 2.3 grams per ton down to about 1.5 grams per ton. And then when we brought in the preferred way of processing on the lower grade ore, and we started to go the heap leach route, and then we did the pilot plant heap leaches, the project evolved, and the future of Kilimapesa, I've said it many times, is a lower tonnage through the existing milling plant, but treating plus 2.5 gram material. So we have an existing high grade circuit. Which treats the pockets of high-grade material which come out of the ore body. But the future of Kilimapesa is a large, commercially sized heap leach project. And it's not that we weren't focused on production. Production is obviously a key. We're a gold producer first and foremost, but our focus really turned to developing the concept around the big heap leach, which then turned into getting the heap leach financed. And when we had the firm commitment on the financing from OSIM, our attention turned to executing and constructing that project. And you'll appreciate, and the mining guys and the shareholders will appreciate, for instance, as part of the ramp up in the mining, in order to go from 500 ton a day, for instance, out of the open pit to 3,500 ton per day out of the open pit, we had to deploy capital. We had to do a lot of pushbacks. We had to do a lot of stripping. So whilst we were running production, and it was very important to us, having secured the financing, our real focus and our real attention turned to the expansion project. So the production numbers, yes, were disappointing for Q2, for Q3 and Q4 last year. But the reason being is we were deploying and we were working and we were already executing the expansion project, and those production numbers, those lower production numbers, were factored into our financials. They were factored into our planning. We were expecting them to be lower. And then as we started to execute and the expansion project came online, there would be a natural ramp up and quite a very, and in fact, a very quick ramp up of those numbers again. So that's the explanation. And I wasn't disappointed with the numbers. They were in line with what we were expecting for the process that we were going through. The thing that really let us down was obviously the OSIM financing falling apart.
Indeed, yes. Okay, well, thank you for that. So we, of course, look forward to the next update. Of course, the Q1 is almost over, so the market can await the latest results there from production at Kilimapesa. I did also notice from the update that you talk about the company's also been renewing, or should say reviewing, its exploration programs to strengthen the MRE, the mineral resource estimate. So what work have you been doing here on the MRE?
We've got a very strong exploration and geological team with Frank and his team. So it's always been, we've always come out and publicly stated that we believe we'll find over 2 million ounces within the Kilimapesa license area, and that's been a big focus for us. And then obviously broader on a broader base within the group, we've been very public and said we're targeting a 3 million ounce overall resource base. So 2 million ounces coming from the Kilimapesa license and at least 1 million ounces coming from elsewhere. Again, to protect our cash position and to make sure that as part of this refocus on production while we get the financing back in place, we did stop exploration drilling in the middle of December, and we haven't recommenced any drilling as yet. So if any of the shareholders are looking for drilling results, the reason that they haven't been coming out is because to preserve our cash position, we haven't been doing any drilling. What we've been doing is we've been refining our work programs. We've been doing a lot of, especially on Vimrutha, a lot of trenching and sampling. And we actually came out and announced that last year that we were going to go back to basics on Vimrutha. We believed we had proved the concept, and now we really wanted to understand the full strike length of the project. So yeah, we've a lot of work has gone in by Frank and his team. We've got a very clear program, which as soon as we've secured the funding and we can get the drills turning again, we've got a very good program, and a very good understanding of the Kilimapesa hill ore body and of Vimrutha. And once we commence that drilling again, the target is to get to that 2 million ounces within the Kilimapesa license area. And I've seen what they're planning to do. It's very, very exciting. Drilling the extensions on the Kilimapesa hill, testing the Kilimapesa hill project at depth, and I believe we'll get a substantial upgrade in that resource. And then, working hard to get towards our first resource on Vimrutha. Outside of Kenya, we've finished the first phase of work in Tanzania, and that the results of that work really stood up very well. I believe we've acquired a good asset, and the team, Frank and GeoExplore, have identified substantial upside within those license areas. We're currently sitting with just over 605,000 ounces, and again, part of the funding that we were raising from OSIM was going to go into Tanzania and allow us to test the upside and do a couple of thousand meters of drilling on the potential upside of that project. And the target that's been set to Frank and the GeoExplore team is to take the Tanzanian project from the current 605,000 ounces to over 1 million ounces. And so we're still targeting what we came out and told the market right at the beginning when we listed Caracal, that we're targeting a resource base of over 3 million ounces. And I believe we have the project and we have the plan to do it, and we're working very hard on the financing.
Okay, well, it sounds like a lot is certainly sort of waiting on the financing. I know it's difficult to give timelines, Robbie, but are you able to give some indication of sort of stage of discussions with potential partners and when you might be able to say something?
We've broken it down into different areas, and I mean, I know there's been a lot of speculation about whether Floro was still offering their financing, etc., to us, and Floro never withdrew their financing. The $3 million financing from Floro is still sitting there in place, and it's reliant on the same condition that once we've secured the balance of the funding for the expansion project, their 3 million comes in alongside the balance of the financing. So Floro's funding is still very much in place. We just have to do the work on the balance of the funding, and we're still working very closely with Floro. They're still refining our gold. So that relationship is very much intact, and they're a big supporter of us, and we're a big supporter of them. We're in very advanced negotiations with some parties of the balance of the funding. I can't give timelines and I can't give names as yet, but we've gone through a process. Lawyers are appointed, independent engineering contractors to provide independent technical reports are appointed. Site visits have happened. Additional site visits are being planned. So the same kind of process that we went through with OSIM, but we're already we're already probably 45, 50 days into that process, and it's a big focus for us. The lessons that we learned from the OSIM funding, bringing in the advisors on our side who've got probably more experience than what we've got in fundings of these nature. So we've got a couple of advisors who are sitting on the side who are advising us. And we're working very, very hard on the process. It is our focus, and it will be done. And what I can say is all of the funders that we've gone to and everyone we've presented our project to, the Kilimapesa Hill expansion project, are blown away by the fundamentals, technically how simple it is, the low capital cost because of all the money that has already been spent on the project, on infrastructure, etc., and the returns that the project kicks out. So everyone is very impressed by that, and it's a case now of going through the process and getting the money drawn down. And I can't wait to come out and announce to the market that we've secured it and present the team that we've got financing it. I think the market will really be impressed.
Okay. Excellent. Well, thank you very much, Robbie McRae, for that comprehensive update across Caracal and the business and the operations there. The CEO of Caracal Gold, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Mark. Look forward to giving an update again in the near future. Thank you, Mark.
If you enjoyed this interview, then give us a thumbs up, a like or a retweet. Subscribe to us on YouTube or follow us on Twitter and hit that notification bell to be the first to know when we release new content. There's loads of great content on our website too, across all our programs at stockboxmedia.com. Thank you for watching.